Hello my friend, about 3 months ago I did an under the hood look at a mix I was doing on an acoustic song, and Vlogging Practice commented, "Great video as always, thank you very much. I'm a firm believer in less is more, so please can you make a video of the vocal chain with only the BBN105, that's Kit Plugin's Neve channel strip plugin, and one LA two-way or an 1176. Keep up the good work, thank you." Again, Vlogging Practice. So that got me thinking, I've been doing a few acoustic recordings, trying out this new space. Can this mix be done with just 2 plugins, a channel strip and one LA two-way? Let's dive in and find out. Okay, so let's dive into this one. So from the start, hands up, I have cheated slightly. I've used 3 other plugins, but 2 of them you definitely could do if you had more time. That's Vocal Rider, and I've also used Waves Tune as well. So 2 Waves plugins. Vocal Rider just does some automation automatically, so it just saves me a whole bunch of time doing it for this video. And Waves Tune, again, you could do automatically. Technically is another plugin. Okay, sorry about that. It's just nudging my vocal in a little bit and saving me a fair amount of time. But the other big one, I guess, is Tape from Softube, which just always goes on. I always have a Tape plugin always on my mix bus, and it pains me not to have one. But we can take a listen to that on and off as we have a look through this video. First off, now I've admitted that, I feel a lot lighter. First off, let's just take a listen to the difference of essentially these 2 plugins on and off in this mix. So let's start things off with them all on, so you can hear what's going on. And bypass. Back on.
If we can solve any problems, why do we lose so many teeth?
And back off.
Oh, so you go again.
So you can hear, just with our 2 plugins, we've done a lot of good stuff, right? There's a big night and day difference, a big whole ton of work that just these 2 plugins is doing compared to using them and not using them. Okay, I'm just going to take the Tape plugin off for now, off the mix bus, just so I can compare that as well for you guys. So this is without Tape.
Problems. Why do we lose so many teeth?
And back on.
Oh, so you
So right, Tape does some pretty nice stuff on that mix bus just to sweeten everything up. But it's also pretty comparable without it. Now, what's going on also on this mix bus is our Neve channel strip, which is actually, it's not the BBN105 as requested. It's the new one from the guys over at Kit Plugins in conjunction with Blackbird. It's their N73, and I chose this specifically over that one because it's got this really cool master bus function which allows it to work as the master bus on the Neve console, which is really cool. So in this really limited situation, I can actually squeeze as much functionality as I possibly can out of this plugin. The other really cool thing with this plugin is this continuous gain, which I really like, which allows you to bypass the notches and actually fine-tune how much saturation in a situation like using it on a mix bus. I mean, that's really helpful. Let me play this with and without it on the mix bus. So let's start without it.
go again when the leading man appears.
Just take the vocal out. And in. Out. And back in. Broadening out that mix. It's filling out that mix, and it's giving a little bit of sparkle as well too, I think. Sounds really nice. I'm going to bring that tape back in now. Let's have a look at some of the other wins that I've got. I'm going to start off with the guitar because I personally feel like this is a massive win. I've got 2 guitars recorded, panned left and right. There were 2 different acoustic guitars, but the difference of just using this channel strip is huge, and this is really what I wanted to show you guys on this video. I see a lot of acoustic recordings and stuff on YouTube, and sometimes they sound a pretty lousy, and really there should be no excuse for it, because so much can be done just with a couple of plugins. And that's what this approach and my approach and all my tutorials are about. It's about musical mixing. It's about getting those broad strokes in place first, because if you get this stuff right, everything else will fall into place. Hey my friend, if you're struggling to get the results that you deserve from your home studio, I have some gifts for you to say thank you for watching Real Home Studio. I have a 6-part free mini course called The Virtual Console, where you'll learn how to use analog plugins to build the fundamentals and a foundation to a solid mix. I also have a free 7-step guide to musical mixing, which will help take you through the stages to build that solid foundation and musical mix method. Along with that are a couple of other free mini cheat sheets as well. They're going to help you get there. So make today the last day that you get frustrated in your home studio and start taking your production seriously. Grab all those gifts from the links below this video. So let's take a listen to these guitars. So they're both being sent out to a bus. So just one instance of this channel strip, and I've just sweetened it at 3.2, giving it a fair boost. There's a little bit of saturation, and there's also a high pass filter 80. With the mid-range boost, just a case of sweeping through the Neve, just seeing where it sounds good, boosting where it does. As simple as that. A little bit of saturation, and a very little boost as well on the high end shelf as well. Let's take a listen to it. And off. And back on. Now, for me, that difference is massive. Really not much done there at all with this channel strip, but it's massive. To me, it actually sounds like, I remember I used to play Taylor Grand Auditorium, and it was a really nice, expensive guitar. It was my ex-girlfriend's, and it was, I think, about $3 or $4 grand guitar. And it had this sound. It had this sort of really nice, precise, sparkly sound, full, but sparkly and premium as well. And that's what this recording sounds to me like it is. But when you take the channel strip off, it's a fair bit duller. It's lost its life. So night and day moves just with one plugin, just with this one channel strip. Onto the bass, and the job here was just really filling out the bass. I wanted some of the overtones from this plugin, just filling out that low end. There's really nothing else competing with the double bass down there, so it's just a case of using this with a bit of reference material just to get that low end feeling about right. After doing a boost like this, I'd usually would be using another plugin at least, just to filter out some of the stuff which I didn't like from it, but obviously we've kind of got to make do. In this mix, however, it doesn't really matter because there's nothing else there. So it's really all about tone and color and where I like the bass to sit. So there's just a bit of saturation. There's a boost there, and also there's a higher boost at 3.2, just getting out some of the fingers from the double bass. I'll show you on and off. So here's off. And on. So we're definitely filling out some of that low end. We've got some slaps on the double bass as well. This is a great plugin, by the way, I've used for this. This is from Ample Sound. It's their double bass emulation, and yeah, it sounds pretty incredible. Once again on there, just pulled out some of the tone which I liked, a little bit of the low end at 220, so sort of low mids, but this isn't really competing with the double bass. So with our guitars, vocals. So everything's sitting together and it's finding its place quite well. There's one more instrument, and that's our piano. Let me just solo that out. Now for the piano, I just wanted more of a dancey sound just to really sit on top. Let me show you what it sounds like without. Let's get to a part where there's lots of piano. It's already fairly bright. I've just brined out a bit more, boost at 4.8 and a boost on the high shelf. Fair amount of saturation as well. I quite like saturation on a piano. Again, this continuous gain function on this plugin is really handy because you can fine tune in a bit. Often I find sometimes with these Neve style plugins or anything that's notched, you kind of like, that's a little bit too little and that's a little bit too much. And sometimes you want to get in between. This is a really handy plugin. Certainly in this instance where I'm limiting myself down to just a couple of plugins. So you will have noticed I've not used any compressors yet. Now, I did use a little bit of LA2A on the bass, just to rein it in a little bit, and I've used it a lot more than I normally would do. I'd much sooner be stacking compressors on the bass, so I'm hitting it a bit harder than I normally would. But not crazy hard. Getting about 4 dB of gain reduction, so there's nothing too crazy, but again in this mix, kind of get away with it being fairly natural. Onto the vocal, we've got a boost of saturation, and not too much. A little boost on the high shelf, a boost at 4.8. A little boost at 220 as well, just adding a bit of body to the vocal. And we used the high pass 80 on our compressor. Let's take a listen.
If we can solve any problem.
Again, a bit like the bass, I'm hitting it a bit harder than I normally would do because I much prefer to stack compressors. On this occasion, I'm just running this one compressor. But actually, after this compressor, Vocal Rider's doing a fair bit of work as well to automate. Again, you could do that by hand if you've got a bit more time than I have right now.
If we can solve any problem.
Something else I'm doing is also sending this vocal out to a Vox Smash, which is just going out on a separate bus, which is smashing the LA2A much harder. And that's given me a really compressed sound, and I'm just blending that in just to add a little bit more compression and smooth out the vocal.
Why do we lose so many tears?
And into the whole thing.
Oh, so you go again. When the leading man appears, always the same thing. Can't you see we've got everything going on and on and
Everything
on? Every time you go away,
Back in.
you take a piece of me with you.
So there's one more question here really, is where would I take this from this point if I wasn't limiting myself just to 2 plugins? What do I feel's missing? I certainly would work a bit more on the bass. I'd definitely filter out some of the frequencies just to tighten up that bass a little bit, and stack and throw in maybe another compressor or 2 with the vocals. I definitely want to de-ess them. Definitely a little bit more compression, again probably another compressor. And a linear EQ just to notch out anything I wasn't liking in that vocal, just to polish it up and work a bit more on it. I would also want a reverb bus as well, just to help the whole thing globally sort of glued together as well, so we can send stuff out to that reverb. And maybe potentially maybe a little bit of slapback delay, just a little bit on that vocal, a little bit of delay mixed in there as well. I'd want to keep it sounding pretty natural though, so I don't know. I'd probably play around with that a little bit. But they'd be the things that I'd do that I can think of if I was taking this mix on to the next point. So that's mixing just with 2 plugins, musical mixing, using broad strokes to get our mix into shape. I feel like, look, I would happily put that against a video or put that out as something to get work, to say this is what I sound like when I sing. I think it's a nice, good enough presentation, professional enough, and does the business just with 2 plugins. And once again, why I think this video is really important is because even though what I've done today is really, really simple and straightforward, I see so many or hear so many acoustic recordings which just sound like they've been over-tweaked, overplayed with, over-compressed. The guitars don't sound natural, the vocals sound too squashed, or stuff doesn't sound musical, and it's kind of crushes it and spoils it. And it really is a simple process. I think it's a great way to do it. Bring up a channel strip, 1 compressor, and then just spend your time with learning those two plugins, use them as instruments, and aim for a musical balanced mix which sounds nice to your ears. Hope you enjoyed that video today. Hope you found it really useful. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, but guys, most importantly, go have yourself a great day.